Hello friend, hello friends. Welcome to LMS Learning Management System program. Program is BSc Language English, fourth semester. Session number 22. Origin of earthquakes. In this session, we are going to deal with the theme, the content development, created by Ravi Kumar A, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government First Aid College, Yelahanka, along with Dr. Suresh SB. Origin of elephants. Theme and content development. Why? They provide a primitive explanation for the many whys. This is the why questions early humans asked. They are found throughout the world and popular in all over the world. There is a strong connection between the tales and myths. However, the setting in tales is earthly, and deities play no role in folk tales as they do in myths. For example, why the sun and the moon live in the sky, where stories come from, and why mosquitoes buzz in people's ears. These are a few samples of the curious folks. In the present story, the young man Agdor alliance is demonstrated throughout the story, and in three important stages where he exhibits his valor. His life starts with a stereotype substantiate. The story opens with the regular narrative outbreak and develops. Once upon a time, there lived a young man named Yagda. After his parents' untimely death, he became an orphan. Later, his grandparents took care of him and he grew up with them. There were vast stretches of wild woodland and grassland, and so people living in villages moved around in woodland and grassland on the banks of rivers in search of stumps of trees and other chunks of wood. The young man Agda, after his parents' death as he grew up, he took up the responsibility of maintaining the family by gathering the chunks of wood and selling them in the nearby town. One day Agda went to the nearby stretch of grassland with the village people to gather firewood. As they reached the grassland, the elephant appeared in front of them. The elephant that headed the animal kingdom. The entire group of villagers started to run away fast. While running, Yagda stumbled and fell down. Thus, the elephant caught him. He knew the elephant is going to trample him. He closed his eyes and faked being dead. The elephant then pushed Yagda here and there with his legs. In the process, Yagda into fell into a hole. Finding it inconvenient to deal with the man in the hole, the elephant left the spot. On his returning back to his grandparents, the people of the village also began to look up to him as a valiant young man. One on one occasion, Yagda felt a desire to travel around the world. He duly took leave of his grandparents and started on his journey. He walked through forests and stretches of grassland and waded a swamp across the streams and rivers. Meanwhile, three men accompanied Yagda on his world tour. The first one was Mr. Mipang, a woodcutter. The second one was Ipang, an elephant catcher, and the third one was Karpang, the stone breaker. All the four men walked on after crossing five riverside forest. They came across a big river. The river was so big that they couldn't see its other side of the river. All the four men walked on after crossing five riverside forest. They came across a big river. The river was so big that they could not see its other bank, as I told. However, they made a plan to reach outer shore as they start swimming. Yagda and his men have seen a huge fish near the other bank of the river, waiting to swallow them. After a long seesaw with the fish, Yagda scored a trump, pulled the fish onto the bank of the river. Here we can see some supernatural situations that contribute to the story. First one is the huge fish and the violent fight. Now the young man want to give a treat to his companions, so he went. He want fire to cook fish. Jagda climbs a tree top and finds some smoke nearby a habitat. Jagda see Mipang sent Mipang to fetch fire from the house which he saw from the top of the tall tree. He cooked the fish, but Mipang, who went to fetch, was not returned. So the hero sends the remaining two. After finding his friends were not returned, and he went to the village. On reaching the village, I incidentally stopped at the same house where the old woman was sitting on the platform. The old woman asked him to fetch the fire himself. Yagda immediately realized the situation and turned back and caught hold of the evil spirit in the form of an old woman. He lifted her up and whirling her round and round overhead like a boob hang throw her up and away to a great distance with a tremendous force. The earth then shook so severely and became wobbly that the other evil spirits took fright and fled the land hither and skelter. It is said that earthquakes have their origin in that extraordinary event. People also say that the uh, spirits on the whenever the spirits on the helter shelter moving movement, the earthquake happens. Thank you. Here the story ends, and we will see the further story in the next session.